Hey guys, and welcome to Antimatter Chemistry Progression Log 9. I know we didn't have a video last week. I was off visiting from some friends on the July 4th weekend, so I had a good weekend. Yep, we haven't been here for a while, but I've still been able to make some significant progress over the last week and a half of playtime I have so far. Um, we'll go ahead and start with some of the biggest changes, and then we'll get into some of the smaller ones. So the biggest change over here is that I did actually finally start working on the fission fusion plant yard. Right now, this is a prototype of the fission plant yard. We're gonna have right now there are 10 of these little huts, I guess. I do want another set of huts for a total of 20 of each kind. I feel like that'll be enough. I could probably get away with 10 and then just do 10 of each, but I want to do more. Even if I don't use all of the ones. Um, I do want to make sure that we'll have enough to do everything that I want to do effectively. I tried to plan out how many I'm exactly going to do, but it took me like 10 minutes and I had like a basic idea and I just decided more is better. That's definitely a lot easier. And even if we don't use all of them, I can always just throw a few more to help speed up some other processes or whatever. There's always something I can do with them, I'm sure. So we're gonna have these 10. These will be the fission. The idea is actually I can go ahead and see if I can give you guys an overview. The idea is I want to put like a little bit of a pyramid right here where I'm looking, and that way the pyramid will actually connect up like with those paths right there. And this path will go also connect up to the pyramid, and this would be like a central control area of the whole fission fusion plant yard. I really like that from the first run, so I kind of want to do something like that again. I'm not really exactly sure if that's going to be done. There's still a lot to do, so I do want to do it, so it'll probably get done at some point. But yeah, so we're gonna have a little bit of like a central tower pyramid thing here, and then I was thinking another 10 would be over here on this end. And then I was either thinking about placing the fusion plants on this side of the wall over here and have them different, like lower to the ground, and have like the jungle growing over them, and that way I could have like another 10 or another 20 over here with its own control yard, uh, or a control pyramid. I'm not exactly sure about that though. I might just have like another like just basically double it up and then have like another fusion side over here effectively. I'm not really sure which one I want to do. I think I'll probably decide on that once I've finished with the fission plants. Um, so that's kind of like a ways off because I still do have another big project that I'll show in a minute. So what this is going to be is more marshland stuff. This is going to be more proper marshland, I think. Over here was a little bit deeper than I really wanted it to come out to be. It did end up being slightly deeper in the end. That I didn't really feel like it felt too much like a marshland. So over here, it's going to be pretty consistent depth. It's probably not going to be it's not going to be any deeper than this, and I'll probably have areas where it'll be a little bit shallower like over here, for example. Um, but I still have also like lots to do. I haven't poured water in it yet because I'm not done. Obviously, I don't really want to pour water into it until I'm 100% done with it and it works. But that'll be something I get around to. The reason why I haven't gotten around to this actually, why it's still in a quarter finished state at best, is the other project that I recently started. One of the things to note about these fusion fission plants is they're exceptionally power hungry. They're about 3,000. They're 3,000 RF per tick each, so they're very very power hungry. And these V8 energy drinks are really good. Anyway, and we don't really have the kind of power overhead that I'd be willing to throw down like 20 of them. We could easily feed like we could probably feed the first 20. It probably wouldn't be too bad. But the next fission plants or the fusion plants we wouldn't be able to support. So I started on an MSR or a molten salt reactor. And these, holy shit, are these expensive and they're complex. Right, we're pretty wealthy, so it's not like too bad in terms of cost. It's just there's a lot to do. And the other thing is, every single one of these blocks you see here is a tile entity, so you can't copy paste it with the gadget. So you have to individually place every single block, and there are 800 of those tubes inside every single one, and you have to manually configure them each time. It's exceptionally time consuming. It took me, I think, about like By the time I started getting into the swing of things, about 45 minutes to an hour for per heat exchanger. And obviously I haven't completed most of them. And this one I have to break down and pull up one block higher. Because I brought the other ones one block higher because I was worried about hitting the bedrock because we're not, yep, see we have one space before we hit bedrock. So we don't really have a lot of room for piping down here. We can get some more room because I did recently start up Draconic Evolution, so we can actually break bedrock soon once I finally just get around to crafting some stuff. So we're gonna be doing a molten salt reactor. And molten salt reactors are really fucking cool, guys. They're really awesome. So the idea of how they work is it's a full 7-stage Rankine cycle, and the idea is, I guess we turn regular coolant in eutectic NaC coolants or sodium potassium coolants in the molten salt reactor into hot coolants. Hot coolants go in a heat exchanger. Um, to cool down, and the heat exchanger does a couple of interesting things. It does things here. So first off, you have to prime the system with regular water, and that regular water gets turned into high pressure steam from the first heat exchanger. You then run that high pressure steam into a turbine, and that turbine will produce exhaust steam. You then run that exhaust steam through another heat exchanger, and this produces low pressure steam. Low pressure steam you run through another turbine set, and this will produce low quality steam. Low quality steam goes through a condensation tube, which produces condensate water, and then condensate water is run through another heat exchanger, which produces preheated water, and then this preheated water goes back into the cycle. So you have to prime the system with enough water, and then you'll start using preheated water. And once you start using preheated water, you get a lot more power out of it. In the guide that the Tom Dodd, the creator of Nuclear Craft, in the video he put out years and years and years ago about it. He said it was about twice the power if you use preheated water if you do the full cycle, so we do want to do the full cycle. I'm still not sure how much power it'll produce because it's really hard to calculate these things, as in there is no calculator. I'm just kind of uh, guessing. I have original plans for 8 of these heat exchangers, though I don't think we actually will need 8 heat exchangers on second thought. So I might just use these first 4 here, and or might even use 3 to see if I can see if 3 will do it. Not exactly sure. I might have to go up higher. We'll have to see. But first off, I have to finish up the have to finish off these little heat exchangers. And then I need to build probably 2 turbines for each stage. I'm going to do 2 high pressure turbines and 2 low pressure turbines. And then I have to build the condensator, and then we can run all that stuff through. And it's going to be an incredibly complex thing because you have to, move coolant between a bunch of different heat exchangers, and you have to move different. It's going to be interesting, especially since I don't have access to multi P2Ps. We just have regular P2Ps. I think I'm going to try and see if I can be smart about their usage and use P2Ps whenever possible. But it's definitely going to be a little bit difficult. The other thing is, right now there isn't a mod on the server that can handle that kind of fluid, the fluid extraction, as these heat exchanger vents do not automatically push fluid out into an external accepting inventory. It has to be pumped out manually, and there is no fluid pumping currently in the pack that can actually handle the amount of fluid that the MSRs will put out in terms of steam. So I'm going to have to add high pressure pipes, which from what I remember have an unlimited throughput rate. So we're going to have to grab some of those things, and we're going to have to mess around with some stuff. So it's going to be a little bit of an interesting experience. Hopefully I'll be able to get it to work. If not, I'm going to be really, really mad because I spent like 10 hours building all this crap already. So, but to talk more about the MSR, I guess, we're going to be using HEU235 fluoride fuel. So the reason why I'm using HEU235 is it's a pretty hot fuel, especially, and doesn't require any terms of like breeder reactors behind it in order to actually make those elements. We can just get it from regular uranium. So we have uranium, molten phlebe. I love phlebe. I think it's a really funny name. So, actually, instead of being over here, I'm going to go ahead and showcase what that is over there. All the way back to the other side of the base. This base is really big. I really need to spend some time and figure out how I want to do some fast travel stuff around it. Though that may just never end up happening because once the MSR is done and the fusion fission plants are done, that's mostly it at this stage. So over here we have where we're making coolants. We're making the regular NaC coolant. because we are using four different coolant types. We're using NAC, which is sort of the MSR's replacement for water. Then we have the helium, redstone, and gold, and all of them will take the regular NAC in order to make them. So you add NAC and then something else, and it makes that version. Um, in terms of the MSR, they all have the same cooler requirements as, for example, the non active one. They're like active coolers, right? Except they can support each other. In terms of, like I say, let's say a redstone cooler, right? Um, a redstone cooler has to be adjacent to at least one reactor cell, so this has to be adjacent to one fission fission vessel. So over here we're then also making phlebe. We just have fluorine and beryllium, fluorine and lithium. This uses a lot of fluorine, by the way, like a lot of fluorine. So we have phlebe here, and then we just make the molten fuel over here, fluoride fuel, and then we just have the molten phlebe salt solution of HEU235 fluoride fuel. And we have 256 buckets stockpiled, so we're pretty good on that. I recently set it up so I can try and do some testing soon. I'm just going to avoid steam initially just to see if it works, and if I can get the coolant cycle to work, but that's going to be a really big project. And there's a lot to do about that, and I'm not really looking forward to all of it because part of me does just kind of want to get this stuff done, but I really want to build an MSR because they're really really cool. So I'm gonna build an MSR, and if it doesn't work for whatever reason, which is entirely possible, maybe it just doesn't produce the kind of power that I want. Well, I already have HEU235, so I'll just can slam out a bunch of SFRs with the HEU235, and that'll be good enough. So we'll be fine. Just run some cryothium coolers or something through it. And we also set up Dragon Hearts last night because I finally got around to doing Draconic Evolution. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I finally started working towards Draconic Evolution because the reason why I did it is because I might need to break some bedrock to give myself some more headway onto those MSRs so I can actually fit piping in. I probably built them a little bit too low, honestly. And I put it down here, right where the central one is. We only have one fusion crafter here because it is a little bit slow, but we're not really doing a whole lot. And also, if I want to order like in bulk, there's only like two. There's like one thing I want to order in bulk, and it's Wake and Draconium. And you need this for. I might build an energy ball at some point. We only have one battery over here. Uh, it's quote unquote just 2 billion RF, but I still want a little bit more of a bigger battery, especially as we start delving into some, start upgrading power systems and we start having a higher draw. The draw of the space is actually pretty low. Right now, it's only sitting at about 6.4 KR per tick, which really isn't a whole lot. Most of that is into the, I think the applied energistic system is where most of it's going. See if it lets me get down into it. I guess I'm gonna have to break a luck. Uh, Yeah, okay, that's about 2,000 RF per tick. And I guess the other amount is probably a few other active systems, but there's not really that many things going on in the base. So, um, down here is an on-demand fusion crafter from Draconic Evolution. And this made me feel very smart, and it's actually not too complicated. So what it is it uses XNet. I love XNet, by the way. XNet's great. So how this works is, first off, we'll need the fusion cores comparator. Here, let me go ahead and pull out the project. I also just set up wireless. Uh, I finally got around to setting up wireless, by the way. Wireless terminals. There's no universal ones where you can like swap between them easily. So over here we have just the regular quantum link card, and that's it. We're done. We're good. It's really cool. So I have wireless. It's so nice. I should have done this hours and I should have done this weeks ago, but it's whatever. Anyway, so how this works is, first off, we need to, let me go ahead and grab the Draconic tablet here. Here it is. Um, so how this works is we need to know a little bit about how the comparator output of the Fusion Crafter works. So if it will output 0 redstone, so it outputs nothing if there is nothing in the have no valid recipe and the output slot is empty. It will output a signal of 1 if it has a valid recipe, and then it's from between 1 and 15 for crafting in progress, and it will output a signal of 15 when the item is complete and there's an item in the output. So now that we have that information, how this works is we have a interface with blocking mode on there. So let's see if I can snap it. There we go. So we have an interface with blocking mode on here, so it'll dump the recipe into this buffer chest here. So there's also a core item. So there's one item that goes, and there's items that go in the core, and then there's items that go in the injectors. The first item in the injector, the first item in the recipe, the encoded recipe goes into the core. Let's see if I can go ahead and pull that recipe out for you guys. We'll go ahead and take a look at this. So as you guys can see, we have the fusion crafting engine, basic fusion crafting injector is the first one in the slot. And in order to make this, we want the basic fusion crafter in the core. So it's the first one here. And that means it will get dumped into the core beyond anything else. Because I used XNet and gave it a priority. So the extraction from the buffer chest is a priority channel. Which means it will, and this is the highest priority. So insert the first thing it grabs into the fusion crafter. Once it's done with that, it will then round robin to all the other individual injectors. They don't need to be in any particular order, or items don't need to be any particular order. There's just crafter item, there's just core item and injector items. So once it's all done and we have a valid recipe, it will output a signal of 1. It will then use that signal to turn off the extraction from the buffer chest. Otherwise, it will keep pulling out stuff and it will break the valid recipe. I had a problem where it would start a valid recipe, start to craft, and then the extraction would pull another item from the next recipe. This was only a problem if you were ordering a bunch of recipes at the same time. Like if you wanted to order like a couple of cores or multiple sets of Awakened Draconium or whatever. It would then, because once it completes the recipe, there are no more items in the buffer chest, so Applied Logistics would feed it another recipe. Then XNet would pull those items and break the recipe and it would stop working. So as soon as it has a valid recipe, it stops extracting. We see this through the sensor here with a redstone signal of 0. A redstone signal of 0 means it has no valid recipe and it has no valid items in it. So when it's 0, it turns on the extraction here, so it will only pull out when there's no valid recipe and there's nothing to do. When it's redstone signal 1, that means it has a valid recipe and we need to start it. In order to start a fusion crafter automatically, you have to hit it with a redstone pulse. So we just have an output channel from another, we just have another output version, or I guess connector of the logic channel. And this just turns on red. So as soon as it sets to 1, it pulses it and it turns on. So this is all very, very nice. I'm very, very happy with this. So we also, this is actually a legacy thing from an original version that doesn't actually do anything more. So we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, that's about it. I also have this thing set to 5, so it ticks pretty. I want it to tick faster than this extraction here, just so it outsamples it effectively, to make sure that it always goes off first, rather than like let's say it has a valid recipe. If they are both on 10 ticks, it might have a valid recipe, and for some reason somehow manage to lock up by pulling another item before it reads that it has another valid recipe. I just wanted to make sure that wouldn't happen. So. But yeah, we can go ahead and order some stuff. Let's see. I'll go ahead and order some Awakened Draconium. We can see it put some items in there. Redstone lamp when it turns on. Now it's active and has an active recipe, so now it's already crafting the stuff. We can see there's another recipe worth of items in there. This took me like an hour. I felt really smart at the end of it. There we go, and it's done. Pull the item out. Turns off because the lamp turns off because it had no valid recipe. Put the next recipe in there. And it starts the crafting immediately after. I love this. Uh, this took me way longer than I would have liked. The original design did not have the comparator. In order for this setup to work, you absolutely need to have the comparator. The only downside of XNet, I love XNet, but the only downside of XNet is the sensors. The sensor connectors don't actually count as a comparator. They don't have comparator behavior. So I needed the comparator. So the original design of this area had an 8 injector here. Let me just go ahead and there we go, and it's done. So the original design of this area had 8 injectors surrounding it, and then only 1 up top. So because we only need 9. So I didn't have a comparator originally in this, but the only way to get this automation to work the way I wanted to required a comparator. So I had to do a tiny, tiny amount of rebuilding. It wasn't too bad, and I think it looks pretty okay anyway. I don't really like the vision, what the comparator looks like. But there literally isn't any other way to get this to work. Unless maybe could try and do some weird timer shit, maybe? I have no idea. This was way easier, so I just did this. But yeah, it looks great. It feels great. It works great. I'm really, really happy with it. So if you guys want to build your own automated fusion crafting setups, you can do it like this. Uh, Very simple with some channels and stuff. XNet is really, really powerful for compact automation setups like this. Uh, yeah, so now we can actually, I might be able to even make the staff power. Uh, oh, it says that it wants to craft all those other ones. Um, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and do that later. I'll figure that out another time. It looks like I'm probably gonna have to manually feed it or something. I guess we can go ahead and talk about some of the small changes. There's just been some more building and stuff. I got around and added some large flowers around the base. I spent some time decorating. I think the areas look a lot nicer now with a lot of these tall flowers. I'm really enjoying the way the space is coming together. I don't think I've done too much work otherwise. Like I said, I was at last weekend from about Friday to Tuesday or so. I was on a trip and stuff. But I still haven't really gotten around to using these two other pads yet. There's nothing really I need to grow right now. But so this is, man, I love this base. This base is great. I would like to move on to a new pack soon. I've been having a lot of fun on Antimatter chemistry, but I would like to do some new stuff. But man, this base is great. I did actually finally get around to completing this wall over here, and unfortunately, just the way the whole base lines up, it didn't really line up initially in the center with 5, so I made this 7, so it was still in the center, so it looked okay. Unfortunately, it does throw a whole bunch of things off, so it threw this off. This is because over here, the way this pyramid is placed is to be a center of this one, I should say this center pathway, I guess, and they are not necessarily aligned the same way like this one, because this row is aligned along this one, and that pyramid is aligned along this one. And because the central pyramid isn't necessarily on that grid, that same, glowstone 5 glowstone grid, doesn't necessarily fit inside of that, it's slightly off by a few blocks. There's nothing I can really do about it. The only thing I could have done about it would be to have designed the pyramid to fit it within that as a part of that 5 by 5 grid. So no matter which path you took, you wanted to organize something by, they were always along the same grid. That is something I might want to do for the next time I build a grid like this, like a grid-like base like this. Uh, in the end, though, it's not really too much of a huge issue. It does kind of annoy me a little bit, but I could always just not have this connection here and just disconnect it, and it would be fine, and it wouldn't be visually a problem at all. But I want to connect it, so I think it would be kind of weird if I didn't. Maybe I could shrink it down so it wouldn't be like this grass, so it wouldn't have grass maybe, and that might fix it a little bit, but I don't know. Probably not. So it's a little bit of an error, I guess, in the design of the base, but nothing is ever perfect. And while this base design's pretty good, obviously I didn't think, 200 hours ahead. Could actually take a look. Time played. 280 hours ahead. So it is what it is, right? I still think it looks really, really good though. I've been really enjoying this whole style of base. Also, if we come down here and like now, this little area is like a little like walled off garden, and I think that looks super cool. Obviously, I still have to, bring out some of the rest of like the whole wall decoration and things. And I might want to put some more water pathways down here, though I might leave this as just a more open field. We'll see how I feel about that. But yeah, I think, oh yeah, ore processing has been more than keeping up now. We can actually take a look and see what's in here. Yeah, I started silk touching some dimensional shard ore so I can make an RF Tools dimlet for that, as we do need that for draconium. I think we're out of dimension shards. Yeah, I started running more quarries in RF Tools dimensions, but it's still pretty rare and it's kind of slow and we need lots of it. Eventually, we can actually make the dimensional shards once I have more. The problem is the only way to set this up is you need gadolinium, which you can only make via fusion. There's no way to split it down. So this would have to have the fusion fission plant set up for this, and that's like I don't know, at least 2 weeks away at this stage. I think the MSR is going to take me at the very least the rest of next week and maybe even the week after. It depends on if I can get it to work. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to have to build some SFRs, solid fuel reactors, but those are much quicker to slap out, so that won't be a problem. I really do hope I can get the MSR to work because the MSRs are super duper cool. I really enjoy the whole, like, multi-cycle turbine stuff and full recycling and like, once we get it to work, as long as we supply it fuel, it will just work forever. We don't have to worry about it overheating as long as it's a heat negative reactor and we can just run it forever. And it'll be really sick. It's just gonna take me forever. So, we'll have to see how much power this produces. Hopefully it'll be enough. We'll have to see. Oh yeah, this is actually a wall, by the way. It's just uses reactor glass because I want to see inside. This one also just has heat exchanger glass. So, yeah, if this one, if we have extra overhead on the heat exchangers too, I can always throw some moderators in there. As you can see, there's some gaps, so I can throw some moderators in there, moderator blocks. They're called moderator housings, I believe. Yeah, they're called molten salt moderator reactor housings. So they will make the reactor a little bit hotter and increase the efficiency. And if we have extra overhead on terms of cooling in the reactor itself, as well as available heat exchanger overhead, so we can actually cool all that extra coolant, um, I'll go ahead and do that, and that should give us some extra power, but we'll have to see how all this works out. I do need to set up craft that draconic staff of power so I can break out some of this bedrock down here, and that way we'll have some more room to work down here, because as it is right now, I don't have enough room, so I am going to have to do that. And I'm also going to have to add high pressure pipes as well. Still need to do lots more decoration as well, like adding more trees and stuff around the base. It's all very time consuming, and I kind of want to do other things. So I've also had slightly less time to play over the last couple of weeks as I started uh, another, I guess, the unrelated creative project is I started writing a book, or at least trying to write a book. I don't really have anything else to do. The job market, I've mentioned this several times over the last couple of months, is the job market blows, and I'm not really doing anything else. So I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to write a book. I'm actually a firm believer that everyone has at least one book in them. So we'll see if my book is any good. Maybe I'll write more. I don't know. I try and write several hours a day, and I'm about 40,000 words into the project, so we'll see how that goes. Uh, so I've been playing less because I've been trying to be a little bit more professional in how long I spend writing. So I usually spend about 6 to 7 hours a day, or at least I try, to writing and stuff. I usually I try and get a couple thousand words a day in. I'm actually taking part in a Rimo challenge or Write More challenge for July for a 50,000 word goal. Last month I actually hit 50. I hit 54. No, I hit 66,000 words I think last month. I don't. I'm kind of. I think I'm kind of stuffed for this month's challenge. I'm not gonna lie. I did spend like 4 days, not writing at all, or 4 or 5 days not writing at all. So, well, we'll see if I can pull it off. I still have lots of things I have to do and lots of very interesting things. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably about it I've got for this week. I hope you guys have had, I guess the last 2 weeks really. Um, I'm excited to see where this world is gonna go. I'm hoping to be done soon, and then we can play Ocean Block 2. That promises to be really fun as well. So I hope you guys. I guess one thing as well. I will be back to Antimatter Chemistry as well. Once the long-term support edition is done, I'll come back for that. We'll play that one again because, like I said, I really enjoy Antimatter Chemistry. And then whenever Antimatter Chemistry 2 comes out, because that's a thing that the mod maker, the pack maker wants to do. We'll play that one again, and we'll probably play that one 14 times because I love animated chemistry. It's great. Um, all right, guys. I hope you guys have had a good week or a good 2 weeks. My 2 weeks have been actually legendary. It's been fantastic. I had a really great weekend. There's nothing like riding around in the back of a truck on, and 4th of July, in Phoenix. You know what I mean? It was a lot of fun. My buddy didn't have enough room in his truck for all of us, so we all had to pile into the back of his truck and in the truck bed. It's actually legal to be in a truck bed, as long as you're not on the highway and you're over 18. Big facts for you. So that was legendary. It was a lot of fun. So I hope you guys. So my 2 weeks were amazing. Last weekend was I'll never forget it. So I hope you guys have had a good weekend or some good couple of weeks, and I will see you all again next week.